Even so, hard code is easy. Part 3, lessons in coding. But Eric wasn't easy to get along with. He would yell at people he worked with. You might say he was a complete jerk sometimes. The managers and team allowed this to happen in a large part because he was productive. I can still see it now when I close my eyes. Eric was a smoker, and he was trying to quit. This made Eric even testier. Eric and Sri were working together on some files when I came walking down a row of cubes, and Eric was in Sri's cube, yelling. You know how people get mad and their veins look like they're going to pop out of their head? Eric's veins were about ready to explode. Then he ran out the door. I guess he needed a smoke. I asked Sri if he was okay. He said he was okay, but then looked at me and said, no one should have to put up with him. Sri couldn't have been more correct. Eric was a tyrant who ran around like Darth Vader, intimidating people. We all put up with this terrible treatment just because he was able to code a lot. Even though many developers act like Spock, we have feelings too. I would like to tell you that Eric was let go and the team was able to move on. The company did nothing to him. His behavior was left unhandled. Learning how to be a good team player doesn't come naturally to some. We need to understand the basics to how to make the team thrive. Eric wasn't a team player. He was out for himself. If you work with a team player, it can be hard to collaborate and work together. If they go on vacation, things can fall apart. Ben was a leader that I worked with, and he had a coding hero. We'll call him Dave. Dave would code solutions that were more complex than others could understand. Dave was coming up on a milestone birthday. To celebrate, he was going to bike across multiple states with all his gear. So he was going to take off 3 weeks. So Ben knew this was going to be an issue. So he met with the team and discussed the challenges. The team decided to begin to have knowledge transfer sessions with Dave. Ben helped foster this collaboration with the team. This enabled the team to slowly chip away at that knowledge gap, and the team became more resilient. At my next stop, I began to master my skills in Java. I was responsible for an application that required me to learn some new technologies. Software development can be a bit like trending song sales on iTunes. One day something's hot, the next day it's out of date. During this time in my career, many open source tools became popular. Mastery for Luke Skywalker came after a battle with Darth Vader. Programming is a lot like writing. As the author Stephen Pressfield says, the amateur tweets, the pro works. Professional programmers show up every day and slay small demons. Now, the first skill I had to master as a developer was debugging. Of course, today the tools are much more mature. One of the first applications I had to debug didn't have any such tools. I was armed with print statements in a log file, quite primitive by today's standards. All right, let's see here. Where can we find out where that value is being set? All right, let's add a print statement, recompile. Oh, compile error. I forgot to add the semicolon. Okay, let me the semicolon, recompile, run the report. Oh no, the database isn't set up right. Okay, let me update the database, run the report, tail log. Now that looks better. Of course, debugging is so much easier today, but we still need to use the old bean. As Steve McConnell points out in his book Code Complete, we need to learn the types of mistakes we make. Early in my Java career, I made the same mistake time and again. I would forget to initialize my variables. I could still hear my coworker Ken laughing at me when he would look at my code. We need to take a step back and reflect on how we are doing. How can I improve my coding, debugging, and testing? Software developers like to impress each other. I had to use the singleton pattern to fix that. Don't worry, most developers don't know what that means either. There are many esoteric topics we can talk about for hours. In Essentialism, the Disciplined Pursuit of Less, Greg McKeown shares how important editing is to journalism. Now, the journalists bring out the stories and write up the ideas. However, the editor has an important job. They review the piece and rework it. Over my years, I've mentored many developers. One in particular sticks out. He began reading about code basics. This made him add unnecessary code from time to time. I remember debugging there he was getting together when I asked him, "Why is this loop here?" He looked at me unsure and said, I don't know. I thought it would help. Whew, he thought it would help. Once we removed his unnecessary loop, we resolved his error. Adding code is easy. Knowing what to keep is hard. Now, it's not that I'm saying computer science basics are not important. We need to master these too. However, if we put our sole focus on them, our careers will falter. I spoke before about Eric. He had mastered computer science. His teammates, though, couldn't stand him. We need to be good at our jobs and get along with our team. If we just do one of these, we aren't doing our job.